This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everyone. The word success. Let's riff on that right now. If you owned a business, doesn't matter if you did or not, or do or not, you'd want success with that. Imagine looking at your personal finances like a business for success. We're going to talk about that today, all about restoring balance to your financial situation. He does that, coaches you along, walks that journey, has so many little nuggets of insight that we've gotten so far. I'm going to get more today from the man behind RMT Financial Coaching. Richard Toral is back with us. How you doing today?
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me back.
So when we talk about running your finances like running a business, fundamentally, what are we talking about there?
So when when you have a business, you want it to be successful. You're thinking about expenses and how those expenses align with your mission statement, your goals, and how you can reinvest in your business, to scale up, right? To go bigger, right? And those are the concepts kind of like that I like to think about when you're running your personal finances.
So should we, because many times if you have a business, you're always looking to level up, scale up. I mean, it's okay if you're maintaining, but wouldn't it be great if you took it a notch up? Should you always look at your personal finances in the same way?
Yes. So one example is people that are earning like $60,000 a year can still manage to save up and invest and put some of that money away. And then there are other people that are making over 100,000, $200,000 that are living paycheck to paycheck who can't find the way to put money away and invest and save. So
Hmm.
it's not how much you make, right? It's what you actually keep.
Oh, that's a tough one. Got to process that one for a minute. When you say keep, do you mean spend or you really do mean keep, as in invest or save?
Yeah, I mean keep as an investor save.
Okay.
The spending just comes with living. And when you're spending in a business, you think of it like, do I really need to spend this on this particular thing? Do I really need to buy this now? Do I really need to spend on this? Does it align with my mission statement? What's my mission statement? Everyone should have a goal, right? My goal is to accumulate a certain amount so that I can either retire early or when I do retire at 60s, I have enough to live for the next 20, 30 years. So that becomes your mission statement. And then how do you accomplish that? So, you know, like I said, there are people that are making 60,000 and can put money away, but people that earn more can't. So it's commitment, it's your mission statement, what are your goals, and then what do you do to make those happen? You set your goals and you make sure that you're investing. They say you should be investing or saving 10 to 15% of your income. Roughly, some people do 4%, so it's not enough. And then when it's time to retire, people are like, oh, snap, like I'm almost there and I don't have anything saved up yet. Like, let me start now. It's like
Hmm.
too late by
So
then.
what would be the starting point? Is it first looking at what is draining your income and or savings? Like we talk about getting rid of subscriptions, things that you could do differently, maybe not getting that cup of coffee, that $6 a day, things like that. Should we, where we're bleeding money, look at that first?
Right. It's looking at your budget. It's making sure you have a budget. If you run a business, there's no way you run a business without knowing how much you're spending, how much you're making as a company, and having that budget built in. You're comparing budget versus actuals. That's what you do in a business. So you budgeted to spend this much, but you actually came in this higher or this lower, this number higher, this number lower. What happened? So you have to analyze and be like, what did I overspend on? What happened? Um, and that's when you look into the budget and say, okay, did we really need to spend this much on so and so? Does that line up with our goals, with our mission statement? If it doesn't, get rid of it. If your mission is to save money and invest, then maybe going out to parties with friends and drinking and binging and doing all that, that's probably hindering you and keeping you from saving what you need to save. If you want to reach that $100,000 base, that's the goal. So you have to look at what's draining your accounts. Another thing is people like living inflation they call it, or like I forgot what they. So if you currently make $60,000 and you have a budget and you're sticking to it and you're saving, or saving some, then next year, next 2 years, you're bumping up your salary and you're making 80,000. But if you're still saving the same amount as you were when you were making $60,000, then that means that's like your expenses are creeping up on you. So you're spending
Mm.
more. So that's another thing to look for. It's like if you, and I feel like the people that make less are in survival mode or in crisis mode. They figure out a way to make ends meet, and they figure out a way to squirrel a little bit of money away. They're the most equipped to actually manage a budget and manage their spending.
Mm.
And then the people that make more, like 100,000 plus, they usually have more leeway and they're not so worried about spending because they know they're comfortable. And that's when it creeps in and it's money starts bleeding out without you even realizing. They forget about the budget because they're like, I make enough. I can definitely make my ends meet. And then you are living paycheck to paycheck. So you have all these expenses that are getting bigger and bigger as you're making more money. That's still taking away from you saving and potentially meeting your goals.
That really is a fantastic way to look at it. If you're in a slightly comfortable spot, maybe you're too comfortable where you're, yeah, let's go out to eat again. Yeah, let's just, I'm just, those shoes, I'm going to buy them anyway. Man, you might think about it for a moment and then, but the ultimate, in the back of your mind, you know what the answer is going to be. You're going to buy it, even though you want to, look at it as strategic. Well, let me think about this purchase. You wind up buying it anyway, instead of, like you said, somebody making less, where they're somewhat fixated on their budget, and now they're aware of it. Where the other person, it's just it's it creeps up. Stuff gets gets spent,
Yes.
and you're not even seeing it. Do you, based on your experience, Richard, do you find that a lot of people almost don't want to know? They almost don't want to look at their finances because they know that things are going to have to change for the better, but it's uncomfortable. It's like, well, I like doing what I'm doing now. Things are okay. But in the back end, they're really not saving and they're really not looking toward the future. They're living now.
That's when you should really ask yourself, is this how I should be running a business?
Mm,
If I had a business, do I not want to look at the financial statements? Do I not want to look at the budget? Do I not want to look at payroll
mm.
to make sure my people are getting paid, if I can even get them paid? Like that's when you really need to dig down and be like, if I own this business, is this how I would run it? Not wanting to know and not wanting to sit at that board meeting or financials and look at the budgets versus actions and see where are we bleeding out? Where's all the money going? Like, how come we don't have enough money for payroll? How come we don't have, and there's also reinvesting. If you want your company to succeed and expand, you have to reinvest into the company. So you have to think of it that way to yourself. You have to reinvest in yourself. Now, I'm not saying don't enjoy life, right? But you have to make a budget for it. If that's a priority, if that's a mission, if that's on your mission statement, then you know what? I'm a big film fanatic and I have to go to like all the premieres and like that's my thing because I'm an actor or something. It's part of your mission, then create a budget for it and have it written down and stick to the budget. And then everything else becomes like, do I really need to do this other thing? because I have these goals. So whatever money you have left over, that's the margin, right? That's your profit. So you
Mm.
run through all your expenses, and if you have money left over, that's profit. So what do businesses do with profits? They either pocket it or they reinvest it in back into the business. So you consider profit as a bonus. So you're like, oh, you know what? I can treat myself to a vacation and, but technically your vacation should be part of your budget too. You should be putting monthly a little bit away every month so that you can go on vacation. So that when you do have money left over, you don't have to come up with excuses to blow that money. So you reinvest that profit back into yourself. So what does that mean? That means you reinvest in your future self for retirement, for, emergencies. If you have to build up that emergency fund, that's where it should be going. If you want to retire early, then you should be putting it into your investment account earlier and consistently so that you can get to that goal. And that's how you expand your business.
You know what's troubling about this whole thing, Richard? Is
What?
you're right. And it's we don't want to look at that. And especially the person with the little bit higher salary, they're they just don't want to look at what's going on there and look at their statements. They'll breeze over it. Yeah, there's no fraud. Okay, we're good. But I feel a lot of us don't want to admit that. Yeah, we threw the card down, at the restaurant, then threw the card down here and threw it down there without really paying attention to it and saying, was that really worth it? Was that really worth it? And maybe taking a look and saying, all right, we got to cut back a little bit and set that budget. For the call it entertainment, and I'm going to put restaurants attached to that because you don't always have to go out to eat. You got to eat, but you don't always have to go out to eat. So I'm going to put that in the entertainment category, which if you were doing your taxes for your business, that would be the category. That's one of them. How do you best track that where, a card drop can happen anywhere and, paying attention to it? How do you stick to your budget when you're out, over, a week or two?
I would say probably using a budgeting app. There's no way for us to really track everything consistently without help.
Mm,
I mean, you can put away receipts in your pockets, and when you get home, you're like, oh, I'll do it at the weekend.
yep.
The weekend comes, and you go out and you forget, and you forget to track. So you don't, in a meet in your business, you meet quarterly, you meet monthly, you may meet weekly. So you have to build that consistency of importance of sitting down with yourself and having that board meeting and say,
Mm,
okay, what did we spend? Let's log this down. I think budget apps can help with that because it kind of funnels all your accounts and transactions into one application, and it helps you monitor day by day. I look at my app every day. So
wow.
every day I see expenses and charges coming in, I have to categorize them. So this is for fund money. This is for, like you say, entertainment. This is rent money. This is utilities. This is a business expense. So I have to categorize all of that. So that's how I organize those transactions. And yeah, it's a matter of sitting down with yourself, having that conversation. And
Mm.
I think I've seen memes or something. It's like, if you see me talking to myself, don't worry about having a board meeting.
It's true, though. It's true.
Yes.
Um, and many businesses pilot on return on investment, ROI. So, what was your return on your investment? You went out, let's say on the weekend, you met some friends, you had some cocktails. Well, uh, we're both in the New York area. You buy one cocktail, they're $15 right now, sometimes even higher, rarely that much lower. So that was an investment. You had dinner, you did that. Let's say you went to go see a concert, whatever it might be. I'm not saying, and I know you're not saying it either, you shouldn't do those things. But if you had those cocktails, Well, how was your return on investment? Was it really worth it? Did you have a great time? Did you need to get more? Whatever it might be, doesn't matter what the expense is. But I think we need to look at what your return on it was. And if your return was, well, I dropped $90 on those concert tickets. That was one of the best shows I've ever seen. All right, I'm going to call that a good return on your investment. If you just went because your friends were going and you didn't want to be left out, what was it really worth it? Did you really enjoy it? You might want to just
Right,
consider
yeah.
that, especially if you're feeling that you're living kind of paycheck to paycheck, right?
Yeah, it's it's experiences, right? So,
Yeah.
we say riches versus wealth. Riches is like, okay, let me go flex and buy a Lamborghini and show it off on Instagram.
Mm.
Where wealth can be, I want to share that experience with my best friend. And it's locked into your memory, and you can recall that like years later, and you can say you have, a nice time, a nice time with them.
Yep.
Um,
Do
what else
you
was that?
do you have certain apps that you use for tracking that
Um,
maybe you're partial to?
I use Copilot, which is not it's not free. Um, but I think there are some free apps out there. I know Fidelity, if you have an account with them, or you can just create an account without investing with them, you can
Mm.
create one to track your budget. um and there's I was thinking too, like, you need to get creative sometimes. I know in businesses we fundraise, right? So like we find creative ways to like cut expenses, or save, or for going out like that too. Maybe you can buy a few like bottles of wine or beer and invite your friends home to have a pregame before going out, instead of spending 13, 15, $20 on one drink.
Yep.
You can spend $20 on a bottle and have four drinks out of that or something. So there's different ways, like, and that's some of the money, like free money hacks too. Like I'm always mentioning, like the 401k match, that's free money. That can also help you get your get your base of $100,000 quicker, because your company's giving you free money where it's 3%, 4%, 5%, and you're investing that, and that's free money. Your credit card cash back, that's also free money.
Mm.
You already have to have those expenses. You already have to spend on groceries. You already have to spend on gas. Might as well just get cash back on those items. Obviously, we're not paying interest. We're paying those off every month. And then at the end of the year, you cash in on all of that, and that can help you pay for a vacation, or go towards a vacation trip, or go towards your Christmas gifts. There's also like new credit card bonuses or new checking account bonuses. If you open up an account, they give you like $200, $300. These are free things that you can get to like help you save, or make a profit, right, at the end of the month. I know I have a fit tracker. My insurance company is UHC, and if I connect my Fit Tracker to UHC, they pay me like 25, 50 cents for just walking. So I get my 10,000 steps in, and I get paid for it. So I'm walking my dogs, I'm getting paid. And then I cash in a gift card, and I use that gift card towards my groceries. So then
Beautiful.
my groceries budget isn't as, expensive.
Love
So it's
it.
all these things to get creative with, and like, help you.
Mhm. And it's funny, the cashback rewards on your credit card. I never looked at it this way. Sort of like a 401k, because they're giving you money. You're spending it, but they're giving you money back on it. So interesting. We have an email. Can we go to that?
Sure, sure.
This is Greg in Bangor, Maine, and says, thank you for your discussion. By the way, he checks in at instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. Says, I'm looking for a new car. Should I buy or lease? How can I make the best decision?
Hmm. That's, I hear people like on the podcast. I listen to the Rich Habits podcast. Uh, they mention like unless you're like a lawyer who needs to actually, walk in a suit and kind of like be professional or look professional, those are the kind of professions that warrant you to like buy a new car, or even lease a new car. Um, but I would say like buying used is probably better. Leasing is
Hmm.
super expensive. Leasing is just like renting. It's just like renting and renting and renting. You're not really gaining much from that. Every 3 or 4 years, you may get a new car, um, but your amounts probably don't drop. You probably have to put a little more down every time, and your payments may go up every year. So,
Hmm. So are
you know,
you?
saving money away, putting money away, you can gradually do that and have enough to buy a used car, and then drive it till the wheels fall off, like they say.
So you're saying that it's in your best interest maybe to think about buying a pre-owned car that's a couple of years old as opposed to buying it new, even if it's the same model. Because I always hear it too. As soon as you drive it off the new car lot, it depreciates right away.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, as soon as you drive it off, you lose I like 30% or something of the value of the car.
Mm.
So in 3 or 4 years, the value of the car is usually will match the time. So like you buy a used car that's like 4 or 5 years, a little, older. And some of them are pretty good. They have like, they don't have a lot of miles on it, and
Hmm.
you can get your money's worth that way. When you resell it, it keeps the value doesn't drop dramatically as if you were driving a brand new car off the lot.
Mm. So I bought a pre-owned certified vehicle a year and 2 months. It was 2 years old. I call it 3 years old, just barely touching 3 years old. Um, I was pretty much blown away at the cost. Like, I was like, really? And I'll take it as soon as they pulled it up. And I've never even bought that color before. And I saw it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And it's also got the warranty. Some used cars when you buy them now, they suggest that you got like 3 months on it, but then they suggest that you buy an outside warranty. This came with the factory warranty still intact, so I felt like good. And there was a couple little things there they got fixed, and they took care of it. I'm very happy with it. So yeah, back in the day, I used to lease from time to time, but I can't like you said, and well put. You're renting it. You're essentially renting that vehicle. And here's the mind blow on that. You're paying the tax. So you're paying the tax on a new vehicle that you're going to be giving back. That doesn't make any financial
Right.
sense.
Yes.
It's crazy. And then the next person that buys it is going to pay tax on it again. Ridiculous. But that's the way it is. Love your insight. And now you got me thinking about the business thing and your personal finances. It really is an interesting way to look at it because if you owned a business, you probably wouldn't do some of the things that you do with your personal financial situation.
Yes.
What's the best way to connect with you? If somebody's looking for some financial coaching, want somebody to walk that journey with them, how do we connect with you?
Yes. And speaking of free money hacks, my coaching is free. You can reach me at Richard at rmtfinancialcoaching.com. That's my email. And my link tree is /RMT Financial Coaching. And my website's also rmtfinancialcoaching.com.
I want to go back to one thing you just said. What was that about free?
My coaching is free.
Please explain.
So we call it gatekeeping. So I don't want to gatekeep the information and charge for it and have someone pay for it, the information that is freely and readily available anywhere. You can Google the information, you can read the information. There's books that you can read about it. So the information's out there. So I don't want to gatekeep that and charge for it. My services come in more on the heavy lifting. So if you want me to do heavy lifting for you, like the budgeting, if Excel scares you and you need your cash flow figured out for you to make sure you can pay everything you owe and also save, then that's where I come in and do the heavy lifting.
Totally gotcha. And I think we all need help with that. We really do. Thank you again. Love the insight, love the tips, and looking forward next time we get together.
Thanks. Bye.
Appreciate it.
Have a
We'll be
good
right
one.
back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.